No matter what's going on in the world, sometimes you just need to light a candle and talk about it. So welcome to the Candle and Country Podcast. Hello, my darling.
Hi.
I'm going to probably end up saying this every time.
Hello, my darling.
Hello, my darling.
That's our intro.
It's a wonderful way to start.
It's a great way to begin it.
Am I going to have to do this with anyone that comes on?
Oh,
just hello, my darling.
They'll be like,
They'll be like, well, okay. Didn't expect that to be the start. Hello, my darling.
Oh, darling.
Feels very overly British, but
very
yes.
British.
Should we light our candle for the day?
Let's light our candle for the day.
A wonderful, newly unused candle compared to the last one.
What does this one smell like?
This one is wild mint, and it really is just what it says on the tin. And that's kind of what we actually aimed with, like, all of our candles in the beginning. Is like, so many candle scents are just like overly complex for not good reasons.
So conceptual.
Yeah, I think they're trying to set an idea in your head of the experience. But I guess for me, I was always like, but that's not what it says. Like, you know, I remember there was one that was like black sand and cashmere. And I was like, listen, first of all, black sand doesn't have a smell. Cashmere doesn't really have a smell. Not really. Not in the same way. So we're always like, you know, does that really work? Like, maybe for someone, they might be able to imagine themselves in this specific scenario. But I think for a lot of people, when it comes to smell, we kind of just want to be able to recognize what it is and what.
It's deep.
But like, I think for those who love candles, it is quite deep, honestly. I think, you know, like, I really want to know. Oh, hello, Benny. Benny's just jumped onto the table.
Benny loves to join in.
Who are in the audio
Hopefully
format.
You saw that.
He does love to jump in, but yeah, effectively, this is just one of the scents that we were just like, it is wild mint. And
it smells like mint. It
smells like mint. It is wild mint.
It doesn't smell like toothpaste, very importantly.
Not that type of mint. The leaf is very different from...
Like, literally imagine you get a mint leaf, shove it into your face. It smells like
that. It smells exactly like that.
And
but we think it's a really fresh smell for the summer. So yeah, that was the one I felt like today.
Nice.
But yeah.
Nice summer smells.
It matches my Alphabet shirt.
Oh my gosh. Branding.
Bringing out the Alphabet shirt. It's not really branded, is it? No. It's just Alphabet's a cool character.
This podcast is sponsored by Alphabet.
Indeed. Anyway, I thought, do you know what? My thought that I've been going through this week is...
Your one thought of the week.
Yes,
the only thing you've considered in the week.
The only thing that's gone through my whole brain.
Imagine. In
the whole week. You know, it's amazing how I really managed to get places, isn't it? Just one thought, just constantly on loop. Anyway, that's the one thought that I thought would apply to our podcast this week. I've been thinking about, I guess I have days where I feel like I look at the world and I'm like, is this all a game that someone made up that doesn't really make sense? Like, you know, you look at whether it's the systems, like, I feel like actually most days, someone, whether on media or on social media, tends to be saying that some system is broken. And I'm like, but we're the ones who, like, it's not like this was all here before we walked the earth.
Yeah. Like,
these systems are made by humans and can be improved by humans. And yet we sit here and say, well, this is broken, that's broken. You know, people deserve better. And I'm like, but this is run by people, surely for people. And it's almost like, maybe it's just like looking at it and being like, but we're the ones who designed this. So is this just a game of people pretending that they're successful whilst really forgetting the very reason why we're around, which is just to be around other people?
Well, I suppose it depends on what level you look at it, right? So
what are you thinking?
Well, I think on the broadest level, it's a game that we made up so that we can function as a society.
Sure, yeah.
As in, you know, I guess the basic, if you were playing on survival mode by yourself with no team,
right,
then life is tricky. You have to hunt your own food or gather your own food and build your own shelter, and you have to all the things for yourself.
Yeah,
and most of us don't have all the skills you need. Like, most people, you know, obviously on that level, don't have the skills to farm or to work out what berries are good to eat or to make bread out of wheat, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then some people have skills like, oh, I can make shoes, I can make clothes, I can build houses, right? And then we need to have a way to exchange those things in a way that allows you to function as a society, right?
Sure.
Or even like things
which
today
I feel like
that still
made
apply.
sense. I feel like that made sense on like a small town basis.
But I mean,
like
I think there's things that apply now.
Things.
It's just it doesn't work quite as well. Like things like a lot of people need somebody to look after their children for them, right?
Right, sure.
Because you have a kid, and that's a great thing to have. But then you don't have any way to then do your job, but also have that kid exist in the world.
Sure.
So somebody has to go be paid to look after the kid. But then it's like,
I feel like that's a thing in itself, right? Because you're there, like the fact that you have to pay someone else to go look after your kid because your work does not center around. It doesn't have to center around family per se, but like it's not even family designed in the basic sense. It's like you have to pay someone else whilst you go to work all day, rather than work being designed to be like, actually, if you have children, surely. See, cats are distracting. There's just no.
No, it's fine. This is my child. It's on brand.
So I've always wondered, it's like, why is it that, like, well, for a start, why isn't it the school doesn't go till 5 o'clock? Because that's when most people finish work. Because
kids can't focus until that time.
Yeah, but okay.
But and then when the teachers do all their prep.
I understand that. But doesn't that point out that maybe the whole system shouldn't just be learn for a whole day?
Well, I feel like it's a tricky one because it is, like, it's because a lot of our jobs now aren't I make the bread, I make the shoes, I build the houses, right?
Right.
Like a lot of people, there are of course people where that's their job.
Yeah.
And I guess it makes sense that they can't have their kid there. Like if somebody's job is I do people's kitchen renovations.
Okay.
You can't necessarily bring your baby.
Yeah, sure.
But like a lot of us, because we have jobs that are a lot more theoretical, like practically what we do is we answer emails and we
office jobs that
speak to people, we do meetings, we answer emails, we do some admin stuff. I think in those instances, it's like the culture is still work and life are separate.
Right. Sure.
And I guess that's a good thing in some ways, but also I guess the line is blurred a bit. Like a lot of people work from home. I work from home every day, and I really like it. And I guess it's sort of like, where do you draw the lines between work and life? And is there a way to have like a work-life balance? Because I mean, I feel like most of the women I know who have kids, right? The reason that their kids go to childcare isn't necessarily because they couldn't have them during work from home, like according to their employers. It's more like they wouldn't want to, because trying to do a job and also have a baby and have a toddler running around could be quite a lot,
Sure.
So
but
it's
then
like
you would hope that your job
things.
would be able to, what's the word, like not mitigate, like manage just that change in your life. Like some people have kids. Surely their work should now be like, right, well, you've got a kid. We're not expecting you to get rid of your child whilst you do your job. We're just not going to expect your job to be at the same level of efficiency. But then also, I guess there's an end of people will now start being judgmental and being like, well, we'd rather have single people who are going to work at maximum efficiency. Yes, which already exists. I think it's terrible.
It's very tricky because it's like, I'm obviously going to turn this into a feminist argument, right? But
sure. I don't know if it's necessarily a feminist argument.
I think it absolutely is a feminist argument, 100%, because I think you're talking about people being treated differently for having children, which I think is true. And I think in an ideal world, it would be people.
When I say people, we mean women.
Exactly. Like practically speaking, it is women.
It's not men.
And I think it's women who would be discriminated against in terms of if they get employed, if they get given promotions and responsibilities.
Yeah.
It's women who are kind of judged for putting their kids in childcare rather than quitting their jobs, and equally sort of judged for quitting their jobs.
It's constantly a double negative, right? Like you're judged if you don't have kids. You're judged then if you do have kids.
Well,
you're judged if you're not the main, parent of the family, even if like that's not even a thing. But it's really two ways. But
you're judged for quitting work, and you're judged for continuing work and being a working mum. And I think men don't actually. I'm sure a lot of men have to deal with that personally in their lives, or how they want to do it. But I don't think there's a societal judgment on them, and there isn't the assumption from employers on a sort of macro level that, oh well, Dan here, he's gonna have a baby soon, or he's gonna have a baby soon, so we better be careful and not give him a promotion or anything. Just because
they assume you'll still be around.
Oh yeah, he might be less efficient. He might be up all night with the baby. Yeah,
which is certainly interesting. I remember seeing a video that was kind of like literally talking about the fact that like if the dad is the one that's named as the parents like go to at school, like the amount of people who will still ring the mum.
Yeah.
Even though like the dad's the one that's been listed, and you're just now like, so even at that point, you're like, we're dealing with perceptions that far outgo this individual family who have given their preferences, and yet people have still gone, well, the mum will probably be the one to pick up. And you're like, but you don't know this family. You don't know what their context is. You don't know what their working scenario is.
Sorry if you heard that, guys.
This is a microphone, Benny.
That's a microphone. Don't lick it, Benny.
Indeed. But yeah, it's just like, there's no acceptance of individualism. And like, it's funny because we live in a world that wants us to be so individualistic, and yet we almost don't care about people's individualistic needs in that regard. This is completely off where I wanted to go. I wanted to talk about image and perception, but maybe it is.
I think
image
it's a
and
bit
perception.
Of that. But I mean, let's talk about image and perception. Well, I think the image and perception thing is a good one to go to. So I guess where you were going with it was you were talking about how the world is a bit of a game. And sometimes we could think about how neurodivergence perhaps changes the way that you play the game, and perhaps that changes the way that you see, because the game, a lot of the rules seem to be about how things are perceived and how they look and image.
So my starting place for this is like, I remember when I was growing up, and then like, it's funny when you realize as you're older that you probably have some of these neurodivergencies. Like I don't do well at looking people like dead on the eye. I think I end up in my head about it. It's just
can you look right down the barrel of the camera?
I can look down the barrel of a camera because it's not eyes, but like if it's eyes, suddenly I'm now thinking about the fact that there's an entire person behind these eyes that I'm like, not that I control, but like I have no
you don't control,
I have no autonomy over any of their thoughts, over any way they see the world.
You can make me think things.
Well, this is the thing. Maybe other people like are like, oh, I can influence the world, but I'm now like, I have no control over anything you think. You are an entire person with your own thoughts, own experiences, and that's wonderful. But when you think about it too hard, it's just, it's a lot. So my dad was there like, well, you look either between their eyes or like just above their eyes, like at the forehead. Yeah. Because it still looks like you're looking at them. And it was only like when I got to my adult years, I realized that my dad was basically being like my dad didn't have the words for it, but he's like, you're a neurodivergent. I'm going to teach you ways to go around that. And maybe it's the case that he had to learn that for himself. I don't really know. Never really asked him, but clearly that's come from somewhere. And it was a point where like it came to like grades and stuff like this. And he was always like, the world is a game. Play the game the way that you're supposed to. You're supposed to get a C in the specific, study so that you can get to the next level. Then you've got to get a B in order to get to the next level. Just play the game.
And to pass the exam, you've got to play the game rather than actually necessarily being like the cleverest person there. It's not about that at all. It's not about how much you love learning or about how smart you are at all. No, it's really
sometimes it's not even about how good you are at the thing.
No, it's about how well you can answer the questions.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I remember I had this in D&T. Like I made a traffic light when I was in school.
I've seen the traffic light. Like, it's exceptional.
It's genuinely nearly a proper working traffic light. All it needed was to be, linked into a Google traffic system, and it could actually work. And I got a C in this, not because of build, but because of like the way I answered questions or like did my coursework. And it's almost like, you're just this fun world where you're like, isn't it more important that you can do the thing rather than explain that you can do the thing in an exact certain way that fits someone's mold of what now deems
but then
successful.
This is the thing, but it's because the world has to have these systems to be fair, right? Like as in,
sure. Okay.
So I mean, when I talk about exams, so I do a bit of tutoring sometimes. It's often it's like teaching all my kids. I think I'm biased. I think they're all exceptionally smart people. I think they're all wonderful.
Sure.
But I think a lot of the time where they struggle is answering the questions in the way that the exam requires them to.
Sure.
It's like, okay, I know that you're clever and that you know the answer, but you have to actually walk us through steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with this logical reasoning so that everyone can understand how you got to that answer, And that's half of it, whether that's in maths or in English. You can't just be like, they can say something really deep and profound about Of Mice and Men. But like, I'm going to need you to break that down into smaller chunks and go in really, really granular level to explain what it is that you're on about. Otherwise, the teacher's just going to go,
you didn't get it though, did you?
But it's like, it has to be fair. It has to be fair and like an objective way of marking things. Sure. So there's a marking scheme and there's a whole grid and there's all these things. And that's why it's so the world can be fair. But then it's like,
but then it almost, I'm now like, even how many people will leave school and kind of go, all the stuff I learned in school is now useful in my lifetime. I think a lot of people feel like they kind of abandon stuff.
fully depends on the thing, doesn't it?
It does depend on the thing, and it depends on what, like, path you went down.
Yeah.
But like, I learned graphic design not because I did graphic design in school. I learned it because I drew in my spare time and like enjoyed making just random logos. And someone was eventually like, maybe media studies at college would be a good way for you to go. And that kind of gave me a bit more of the skills. But even when I got to uni, the university were like, you need a portfolio in order to show your work. So I had to, because it's not like I had this great plethora of work to show, I basically went and looked up Photoshop tutorials on how to make certain designs, and made those designs and put them in my portfolio. And like, obviously there's an end of like, so in my case, they were kind of like, okay, you've got to start, but you're not entirely there. So we want to put you in year 0 so you can gain some extra experience. Really, that's not a bad thing, to be perfectly honest. Like, anyone who's looking down on year 0, you're like, if you can do it in 4 years rather than 3, who cares? You got there.
A foundation year for anybody who doesn't speak.
Yeah, sorry, I forget not everyone's necessarily going to know what that means.
Not everyone went to Norwich University of the Arts.
My apologies, yes. So yes, a foundation year. But I remember even like thinking a foundation year was quite a bad thing. Because you're there like, oh, I'm not good enough to be able to get straight into year 1 with everybody else. No, but you realise later on in your life, you're like, actually, it was probably a really useful thing. Like, I gained most of my friends in my foundation year.
Yeah.
Like, everybody else is kind of getting thrown into the mix of it, where you're like full work. Because the first year was kind of there, like, we're not testing, we're not judging you on anything, we're not marking you on anything. This is just you kind of like learning the basics to then go into year 1. Everybody else has to jump straight into year 1.
To be fair, that's what I did in my year 1. Yeah,
in your year 1.
None of it. I was quite upset actually, because that was my best year for exams and tests and everything, but none of it counted towards my final grade.
So sad. I mean, remember you had this where you just missed the bar for like higher grade.
Go on, explain. I got, it's amazing. I got 69% in my final, like, overall grade, 70% to get first. So I got a 2-1. And I'll tell you what, it's never affected me in my employment at all. It's just, it was quite upsetting at the time. It's quite funny now, but it was quite upsetting at the time.
Yeah.
But I think it's like, university is a really fun one for this, because I'm pretty sure. I'm quite sure. Most of us, right? We go through the first at least 16 years of our lives, right?
Okay.
And we're in the same cohort as everybody else around us, and we're all kind of having the same experiences. Not quite. You'll have different things going on in our childhoods, right?
Okay.
But we all start school the same sort of age, like 4 or 5, right? And you all, well, I'm going to get this wrong because I grew up in Scotland. You all go to sort of high school about 12.
I think so, yeah.
Maybe 11 in England. But you know what, like everyone that you grew up around, you go to high school the same age, you go through it, and then you get to like 16-ish.
Okay.
Everyone does GCSEs or national 5s in my case.
Sure.
But everyone does those exams. And then at that point, I guess things start to splinter off. People do different things. Some people might go to college, some people might go to a different college to use, some people might do an apprenticeship. But then you get like uni age, and suddenly when you arrive at university, if you do go to university, people there are like all different ages. Like, your cohort is not all the other 18-year-olds. It's 18-year-olds and 40-year-olds and 25-year-olds, and it's like then the people around you, it's different. Like, you meet people who are at your life stage in some ways but not in other ways, and some people are like in real relationships, and some people are absolutely never had a relationship before, and some people are always out partying, and some people are in lots of clubs and societies. Some people are like living in a big house with all their friends. Some people, and then like, you know, you hit your like 20s. Some people are getting married and having babies, and some people are buying houses, and some people are, you know, still living kind of, you know, in a flat share. Or some people are living, you know, going, oh, I'm going to go to London. Some people are getting loads of pets. Some people are, you know, so suddenly everyone who's in your cohort is doing different things.
Well, everyone's
so
running their own race at that point.
But I think the thing is like we have years and years and years of learning to compare ourselves against everybody else in our cohort, like because we all should be at that same level. So I always wanted to be, you know, the best, smartest kid in my class, right? And it was easy to assess that because you see everyone's test results, you see how it's going, you see how you're perceived against everybody there. And it was always like I was in like the top 5 maybe, you know. There was this one kid called Harry who was way smarter than me, or he did better in the tests. And that was fine. I knew where I was in the sort of pecking order. That was okay. And then you go into like high school, you've got to reestablish where your pecking order is. Be like, oh, okay. Am I still the smartest? Oh, who am I in the school? Where do I fit? But then it's like, you know, you have years and years of doing that against everybody that you meet who's like, you know, your age.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to break the habit, because I think once you're in your 20s, you really can't afford to do that, because there'll be some areas where you're thriving and some where you're not. And there'll be people who have a very different life to you, who are very jealous of your life in some ways. Like people who are settled and married and living in a house that they own, right? Sure. Those people, they are so lucky in so many ways. And people who aren't in that situation might be very jealous of that and very sort of like, wow, I wish I had that.
Meanwhile, they're sitting there being like, oh my God, I've got to fix the walls.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
and
just like everybody has their problems at different levels, right? But you're so right. Like, I think when you've been taught to compare for so long, which is why maybe I don't think the system works, but also that kind of feeds into the general perceptions of everything else in life. It's like you've been taught to compete since you're a kid.
Yeah.
And now suddenly you realize that no one knows what the hell they're doing. And that everybody's focused on different things, so it's not even like the comparative rates are the same. And maybe it's why we actually end up on really, really appearance-based things, like just being like, I can judge, like, you know, how well I'm doing based on how healthy I am. And by healthy, we all know that healthy does not mean healthy, because you can't see healthy. What you can do is see a body that's been sculpted in a gym.
Yeah.
And like, you know, that's an entire thing in itself, and no one thinks about the ramifications of competing in that regard. Because if you were sitting there going, I just want to be healthy as a person, and it's really actually about going to your doctor and going, what is it that you need in order to be able to achieve the things that you want to do in your life, rather than going, can I lift the most amount of weight?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think health doesn't have to be anyone's number one priority. It should be somewhere there, but it's a different thing for everyone. Like what your goals are and what you want in your life is so different depending on, like, you know, if I wanted to be a marathon runner who literally wins the marathon, I need to have a whole different lifestyle.
Your whole training is completely different to everybody else's in the gym.
Like if I want to be an Olympian, I think I've missed my chance to be an Olympian at this point.
I don't know if it's ever too late.
I think it might be a bit too late.
Do you reckon?
I think you might have had to start when you're about 7.
But really?
I think it depends on the sport, perhaps. But anyway, I think I'm not going to be an Olympian. You know, the first 24 years of my life have shaped me in such a way that I don't think I will be an Olympian one day.
Sure.
But if I wanted to, I'd have to live a very different life.
Yeah.
But equally, you know, there are people who live a much less active life than I do, and they don't need to live a more active life because they don't have as many things they have to do that, you know, compared to what I have to do sometimes, right? You know, I think for me it's important that I can lift stuff, I can, you know, help with moving house or whatever. Like really just dumb things like that.
But that's not necessarily dumb, that's literally like life stuff.
Dumb life stuff. But there's also like I happen to quite like, you know, doing a bit of running here and there, but in a very non-competitive, casual way.
Sure. But I feel like stuff like that works really well when you've got like a goal specifically in mind.
I don't think you need a goal. Like I mean, for me, I don't have a goal.
No, but your goal is to, because you like running like 5Ks, 10Ks. That is a goal. It's not like a big goal, but it's and to be fair, it is a big goal because I can't run a 10K.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like it's just sort of. I think.
But then you would sit there and go, well, how many people in the world can run a 10K? And it's like, well, that doesn't mean that it's not a goal.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a goal-oriented thing for me at all. I think for me, it's much more. This is just a thing that I enjoy doing. And I have fun doing it, and it's part of my life, and it makes me feel better. I get a lot of, sort of mental health benefits, and then physical health benefits too.
When you say mental health benefits, because everybody says that, and I think nobody really wants to delve into what that actually means.
Into what it means.
So what do you mean?
Mental health benefits from running. So I would say the big one is when I am having a particularly bad day. So this could be, I am on my period and I am having a terrible, terrible time. Everything feels very dark and bleak. And I'm in physical pain. And nothing makes me happy, right? Going for a run, I'm not saying this because not everybody will feel this at all. Some people will say this is the opposite of what they need. Going for a run, it massively dulls the physical pain. So the cramps and stuff go away when I'm running and after I've run. Because you get this physical endorphin rush that absolutely like kills all of that for me. And also I think it just gives you something else to focus on. So I've heard different things here. Some people say that for them the mental health benefit is when they're running they can process a lot very actively. They can think about lots of things. They think about all sorts. For me, my head is pretty empty, and I think that's a very calming thing for me because I am a very non-empty-headed person. What a brag! What a brag! My head is full constantly.
Full of so many things.
I have no, but it's noise. My head is full of noise constantly.
Cool. No, that's really good clarification.
So I am a very overthinker. I get into lots of spirals.
Sure.
And I cannot just sit still. I am not a meditator. I am not let's be quiet and not fidget sort of person. I'm a big old fidgeter. I've always have been. I got assessed for stuff in primary school because I couldn't sit on my mat still.
Fair.
But yeah, I am always thinking about something. It could be a stupid thought, or it could be a very deep thought, or it could be anywhere in between. But there's something in my brain at all times, and it's usually completely irrelevant.
I'm sure there's plenty of people like you.
I'm sure. I think most people probably have thoughts in their head. Whoa, crazy. But I think you know what I mean, right?
I get
it's like
you.
when you have a lot in your head at once, you're not a very mentally peaceful person.
I guess when you're putting everything into keeping your legs running at a certain pace.
Oh yeah, literally all I can do is kind of basic maths, and occasionally what song do I want next? But yeah, basic maths of let's work out what pace am I running at.
Sure.
Oh, when am I going to get to 1 mile? When am I going to get to 2 miles?
Yeah.
Am I going to do it faster than last time? Let's work out. Well, last time I did it in XYZ minutes.
Sure.
Let's see. Oh, how long can I sustain this pace for? If I slow down to that pace, will I still finish my 5K under 30 minutes? Whatever. Stuff like that, right?
Got you.
So it's like things like that. Absolutely peaceful brain moment. Like everything.
You're just focusing on what you're doing in the moment.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which is great. Which is fantastic.
And I think for me that's good. And I don't know really how it works, but usually if I've had a particularly bad day, like if I've gone to the gym and it's because I can't sleep because I'm like been up all night thinking, or if it's like I've had a bad moment, a bad time, bad conversation, and I'm just stuck in my head and I can't see a way out. If I go to the gym and I go for a run, I'll come back and I'll feel way more at peace, and I will feel like the problem doesn't exist anymore because
or it's easier to solve.
Well, it's like the problems often get much bigger when you're just sat there alone in your head thinking about them and trying to work your way around it. And then it's like you kind of get the scale of it becomes more obviously small and petty once you've gone for the run and you've cleared your head and you've gone like right.
You realise it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, it's like this is actually not a big deal.
Fixable.
Yeah,
it's just like you're just stuck in a rut and the run gets you out of your rut.
But I don't know quite how it works. Like I think it's just kind of a background processing maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's like it's better than sleeping for me for processing. Like a lot of the time people will go to sleep and they'll wake up and they'll be like, oh, it makes more sense now. I've processed this. For me, going for a run, my brain does lots of background activity that clearly helps me process things.
Which I feel like you're lucky because so I used to go to the gym. I don't anymore mostly because of my job and just like I drive an hour to work, hour back. By the time I get home, tired. I could fit it in, but like honestly, priorities, legit. Yeah. But like for me, the gym was an entirely different experience because I went from the point of being in high school. I think I was the skinny kid at the time, and like I don't think I really felt bad being the skinny kid, but like I had basically my way into the gym was I think I got bullied by a few guys who were a bit bigger than me, and so I felt like I wanted to be able to defend myself, and I also had stuff going on at home, which also required me to feel like I could defend myself, and so I poured emotion into the gym, which I think I'm not the only person in the world who does this. I think for a lot of people they kind of go there to deal with their emotions, which is why it's an interesting part.
It's sort of the same thing. It's like dealing with emotions, but it could be positive or negative.
So for sure, I would say that the way that you deal with it is incredibly positive. I think for the way I dealt with it is like I love heavy music, but like this would be my point where it would just be like heavy, lift as much as I can, run as fast as I can, just constantly trying to like improve myself. I think this is where you almost like run into the self-improvement cycle. And like it took me years, but I eventually realized I was actually in a really unhealthy position with it. It was actually I think maybe just in us moving house and stuff, I stopped going for a while. And like after that, it was like, right, do you want to go back? And I was like, oh, but I'm not an angry person anymore. So I can't fuel it. Like I actually went a few times and I was kind of like, I can't fuel it the same way. When I used to go in as a kid, I grew massively into like, not the diet culture, but like the diet of gym people.
The gym bro culture.
The gym bro culture. And like, you eat your chicken and your rice and like you stick to it heavily. And like, it took friends to kind of help me. It took friends to help me realize that, like, first of all, what I was cooking, and you. But like you weren't the only one.
You seasoned my chicken.
Yeah, exactly. But no, there was a point before that. There was a point before that where just frozen chicken went in the oven. Dear. Don't judge me. I'm aware it's bad, but like it was just a frozen chicken straight in the oven. I would just put on some rice or pasta, have my veg,
white rice,
and that would be it every day. Yummy. And like maybe a part of my neurodivergency is I don't get bored of food very easily. It's like true. I can have the same meal like nearly a week in a row. Zoe absolutely hates us. We don't, but I could if I was left to my own devices. To be balanced. Exactly.
Yeah, but I guess it's difficult, isn't it? Because I don't think I'm always like. I mean, I'm not saying it's mentally unhealthy what I do at the gym, but it comes from a place of being mentally not in the best place, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Like for me, it's kind of a coping mechanism because if I run,
so if you don't run,
well, no, it's more. Well, I guess that's the reverse side, isn't it? Which I don't think affects me too much. But if I run and if I do a lot in the gym, if I lift a lot, if I keep myself busy and active in the gym, right. So this is the thing. Basic monkey brain goes right. Well, I've lifted a lot. I need to eat some protein in order to build the muscle and feed myself, right? Yeah. So I then eat some protein. I eat quite a lot, right?
Sure.
And if I've gone for a run, if I'm going to go for a run, I know I also need to fuel myself, right?
Yeah.
And that allows me to eat.
Sure. So what you're saying is actually those...
We'll just okay. I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. No worries. So in your case, it kind of gives you structure.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what I would say about like the food thing, I'm sure everyone has some degree of the food thing, right?
Okay.
But I suppose for me, I've had some disordered eating for sure. That I've had sort of dealt with. I've gone through, and I think you say dealt with like it's in the past.
Just so you're aware, that is what I was going to say.
I know.
I don't mean dealt with as in dealt with.
I know. I guess I'd rather sort of say it.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, of course, it's your story.
Edit it and cut it about a bit.
I mean, this is fine. I don't think it massively need to be cut out. I'll cut out this bit now, but
lol. We'll work out. Okay, I'll try that bit again. So I've gone through a bit of sort of disordered eating stuff. I think many people have. Sure. Very common, but I suppose for me it's I guess you've been loads of different flavors of disordered eating. But the big sort of
flavors. It's a fascinating word when we're talking about food. But
all different things.
Yeah,
all different things. But,
sorry.
I guess one thing that I sort of realized fairly early on to trying to, be healthy, because I think everyone when they're going through disordered eating, right, is you tell yourself you want to be healthy. You want to be a healthy person, and that's why you're doing it. Mm-hmm. And that's often where it comes from, and that's a very common lie we tell ourselves, is that we are starving ourselves or we're doing these activities that aren't good for us in order to make ourselves healthy. But I realized when I was on that sort of journey, my health journey, that I couldn't do a lot of very basic things like running a kilometer, for example. I couldn't run a kilometer.
Well, when you started going, you just realized how
unfit. I couldn't do many things. It wasn't that I was unfit, it was that I didn't fuel myself at all.
Okay, sure.
So I would pass out. I would run round the block and I would be basically dead. Okay. And like, this is no shame on anybody who's in that position, right? But it was, for me, that was kind of a thing I always had to sort of sit with and be like, see, I'm getting smaller, but I'm very unfit. I'm not very healthy. And it was like other things like, brain function, the way I was thinking, the way I was able to do my sort of school work and my uni work. And, I was aware that I wasn't all there. I wasn't quite on full capacity.
Yeah.
All the cylinders weren't always full. But the physical activity thing was just a very obvious one that was clearly sort of degrading. Like the more I could, like the more I ran, I couldn't do better. I couldn't get better at it.
Sure.
I was very
because you had nothing else.
I was very limited.
Got you.
So then I was starting to get a bit better, I guess, in some ways.
Sure.
I met Dan. It's quite nice. I was doing a bit better, and then like 6 months into us being together, we started going to the gym. And at first, I was quite worried about that, just because I thought it might feed into sort of disordered habits.
So,
but then actually being there, I think it felt actually really freeing, because it was, then I had a goal to meet, which was I want to run a 5K, right? That was the first goal I wanted to meet. And it was, in order to meet that goal, I had to eat, you know? Yeah. And I would get hungry and I would eat and I wouldn't feel bad about it. And then, you know.
No, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, the biggest thing we did, like, as a house, I kind of almost tried to enforce where I was like, by the way, eating whatever you need is okay. Like, this isn't, and maybe this was partially me getting past that phase of my life where I was overly rigid on my feelings. Actually, I was like, you know what, life is about enjoying the indulgences, and also about just enjoying food, and without the judgment and expectation that kind of goes with it, because I've spoken to so many people who have had various expectations on how much they should eat, or whether they should finish their plate, or, you know, there's so many different, as you say, flavors of that I was there, like, I think in our house we just need to, like, be able to eat what we need at the level in which we need it, and not feel like anyone said anything about it. And that was really important. It was actually really harder to enforce that when you would go to, like, friends' houses, because obviously they would have their things.
Everyone's
and so you're having to, like, battle with their stuff, whilst also being like, by the way, as much as we're outside of our house, our rules still apply, and our rules are about keeping us, I wouldn't say healthy, because I don't think healthy is, again, it's just a word that we kind of use, but what we actually mean is balanced. Like, for us, it's just keeping us balanced, because I don't think people really, like, as you say, it's almost you can get yourself into the pattern of eating these rigid meals because you feel like, you know, oh, well, if I sacrifice, I'm going to get there. But you don't ever think about the other side of sacrificing, which is you gain almost a distrust of food. As in, like, you shouldn't enjoy it, you shouldn't like it, you should only have a jelly bean once every, you know, 5 weeks or whatever. Just like it just becomes overly restrictive. And as you say, I don't know if anybody actually thinks about how many cylinders they're running on when they're going through this all of this. And I wonder how much of the stuff going on in the world is actually because a lot of people are probably within this gym culture. And I think no one's ever really talked about it as a problem, because obviously we see businesses like Gymshark who are, you know, effectively expanding the love of gym and building community and everything around it, and it's fantastic. But also, I think it's a double-edged sword, because it was always like, yes, you're bringing community together, and, like, I say this with all the love of the company. I love Ben Francis. I love everything he's done. I understand. I've watched so much of his stuff, and I understand where he's come from with it. But I think the overarching problem that comes from that is actually we've not thought about the fact that we're buying clothes from Gymshark so that the gym becomes a fashion place, where it becomes almost a walkway for you to be like, by the way, look at how good my progress is. Runway? Sorry, my bad. Yeah, I did say walkway. I think it easily becomes like a fashion runway. Where you are so focused on how you look and how you appear to other people.
Oh yeah, I had this really fun one at the gym where a girl was talking to me, and she kind of just said this thing that was really funny, just because it, like, degraded everybody in the gym. So she was there talking about how her and me are not pretty girls at the gym.
Savage.
We're not pretty girls at the gym. And she was like, yeah, because, you know, we're not like all those sluts with their tits out and their short shorts. I was just there like, hang on a minute, what are we saying? I'm like, yeah, I'm not at the gym trying to make it a fashion show.
Yeah.
I'm also not dressed, like, modestly, because I'm at the gym. I'm wearing less than I would normally wear.
You were wearing, like, a sports bra and leggings, but your sports bra and leggings had, like, a pattern on it. That, like,
no, it actually wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't those, no, really? No. Okay, sorry. So there is a pair that look a little pajama-like, and, like, I love them. Because you're there, like, you've got leggings and you've got your gym wear without looking like I'm trying to...
You would think that it would help, but it doesn't really help with distracting the men.
So
like,
I've heard.
You kind of think, if you're wearing, like, some leggings and a sports bra that are just cute and they have, like, dinosaur bones on them, that people will go, right, well, that isn't a sexual thing to look at, but alas, men.
Apparently men.
Alas, men. Yeah. But anyway, no, I was just wearing... I was wearing a sports bra and some shorts. I was doing my leg day. Sure. Normally wear shorts for leg day, right? And Yeah, she was just there chatting away about how we're not the pretty girls because, you know, we're not showing off because we have longer shorts and our sports bras aren't all revealing. And I was just like, okay.
A little hurt.
I mean, I was like, first of all, okay, cool. I'm an ugly girl.
First of all, ow.
Ow. Second of all, that's kind of a bit rude to all the other girls.
Yeah,
you know, just because they're dressed in normal gym attire that might be from Gymshark or it might be from another sort of
another
brand that's got a name on it, right? It doesn't mean that they're not really here for the gym. It doesn't mean that they don't actually, you know, it doesn't mean their intentions are bad. It doesn't mean that they're here to show off and dress up for their men. Like,
but I think it means that they care about their image a lot, right? Which isn't necessarily, isn't a bad thing.
But I mean, it's really hard to say. I mean, I feel like, so this is a thing.
So I think if you go to Nike and buy slightly oversized stuff, you still have the same gym equipment.
So
the difference is that it isn't built in a way that is supposed to accentuate the parts of your body that naturally look better after you've worked out.
I am going to segue slightly here.
Okay.
Slightly, because I think this links onto a topic that I wanted to discuss with Dan.
Wait. Should we take a break and then you go into
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's a really good segue though.
I'm sure it's a fantastic segue. Stick around. This is going to be great. We're back in a minute. We were going to take a break, but you wanted a segue. Oh, that smells great. Sorry, I just got a whiff. Okay. Go on. So, what were you wanting to talk about?
What I was going to say is, so we just talked about how there's sort of this double-edged thing going on here where we can say that there's a culture that makes it kind of imperative that women present themselves in a way that is quite attractive, right? Sure. Gym clothes are often quite, for want of a better word, sexy, right? Now, that is not necessarily their function at all. The function is to be lightweight and breathable and convenient for doing activities in. But they are also designed by people who were raised in a culture where women are supposed to be objectified, right?
Sure.
So, and also women who wear gym clothes. Now, like Dan was saying, you can wear things that are baggier and looser, and you can wear a big t-shirt, and you can wear joggers, right? You can wear sort of, you know, baggy shorts. That's fine, that's possible. But also, we were all raised in a culture that teaches us that it's quite important to be attractive and to look good.
Yeah.
So fashion is kind of synonymous with flattering, which I don't think is good. I don't think that's right. But, you know, women's fashion, it's made to flatter the bits of us that are seen to be aesthetically pleasing and to reduce the parts that are less aesthetically pleasing, right? Sure. And the fact is, on a macro level, this is a problem. This is bad. Yeah. This is not good. I don't think it's right that women's fashion is so objectifying. I don't think it's right that in order to be seen as pretty, you need to be sort of sexualizing yourself sometimes. And I think there are lots of people who are trying to do different things, like fashion for the female gaze, right?
Yeah.
But on a micro level, I don't think we can blame any woman for wearing something in the gym that is like revealing, or for even having a thought of going, I want to wear this because it makes me look nice, or wearing
totally
like athleisure out and about, right?
Yeah.
And I think I saw an interesting thing today that was in a reel I watched.
Okay.
And it was actually from Lorraine, the morning show.
All right. Okay.
I know, right?
Right.
I was doing a bit of commentary on Lorraine.
Sure.
And it was sort of a debate, kind of. And basically, one woman was talking about how she thinks it's really bad that body modifications and cosmetic surgery, etc., are being so normalized, and that celebrities and influencers who do these publicly and openly and talk about it a lot, they really need to be held to account for trying to normalize that and making it something that is seen as aspirational, right?
Sure.
So, for example, there was this thing where I think Kylie Jenner, you know this, it could be the wrong Jenner, I'm sorry, I don't know them. But one of them, I think it was Kylie, she was asked on like a TikTok or something about who did her boobs and what she got done, and she literally responded saying who the guy was that did them, what she got put in, how many cc's it was, you know, above the there's terminology, but you know what I mean, like above the muscle, onto the muscle.
Got you.
Anyway, and like I personally thought, you know, kind of good on her for being honest about it. Like that's, you know, women helping women.
Yeah.
She's there supporting her girls.
Why should she be gatekeeping?
Don't gatekeep the boobs, yeah. But
Hashtag don't keep the
I guess I thought about it a bit more and I was like, actually, is it maybe damaging that, again, she's reinforcing the idea that this is normal and healthy and good to get this sort of surgery?
Sure.
You know, it's a bit like how I think, on a macro level, people should absolutely not be promoting diet culture and such things. I think people should not be posting about Slimming World and Weight Watchers and their weight loss and everything. But on a micro level, can you blame anyone for doing that? Or for being proud of their achievements in weight loss?
Exactly.
When that's...
Well, this is difficulty, right? So, like...
I think, because it's like personal responsibility versus, like, generally just being a person that exists in the world.
Yeah.
You know? Am I responsible for not triggering or upsetting anybody? Like, is it bad for me, not that I ever do, but, like, is it bad for me to go get cosmetic surgery, to get Botox, to get my lips filled or whatever?
Sure.
Just because that might then influence somebody to then do the same thing. And does that make me a worse person or, you know, a bad feminist to do those things? I guess.
Worse person is a harsh line.
It's quite a harsh line.
I think you raised such an important point because you're right. There's a micro and macro to everything, and like on a micro level, this is one person who's just probably trying to feel better about themselves
and like allowed to live their life and do what they want and make their choices.
But on a macro scale, there is a sense of responsibility, and maybe this is like part of why the world's struggling with this like battle between individualism and community, is that like it's easier if you only have to think about your own life every day and how you want to feel about yourself and all that. But obviously, like being a bit more liberal, the view is that we care about the society as a whole and the direction in which it's going.
But then there's equally, I think, feminism, and when I say feminism, I don't mean something that's just for women. I mean the movement that's meant to sort of try to equalise us all is meant to be kind of freeing for people. Like, you know, women should be allowed to make choices for themselves however they want to. And like my choice to shave or not shave or do my brows or not do my brows, right? It can be a political decision, possibly. Like if I want to make a statement by doing or not doing these things or subscribing or not subscribing, I should be allowed to do that. But it doesn't have to be a big, you know, message, right? Like I can choose
you can
to
be doing it for yourself.
Yeah, like I could choose to not shave my legs, and that doesn't have to mean anything more. It doesn't have to be a decision that I've made because I want to, you know, shove something up the patriarchy, right?
Yeah.
And equally, if I decide that I want to wear some makeup and I want to try and dress pretty and do my hair and do my eyebrows,
why shouldn't you?
Like, I don't think that then should be like questioned and going, oh, actually, you know, you're now reinforcing that the girls around you should have to do the same thing. And I think, where do we draw the line, right? Like, you know.
Yeah, I've got a thought. Okay. So my thought is, because this battle is between your own individual image of yourself and the greater perspective of it, but maybe the question within that is how much of your own self is influenced by the general perspective.
Well, that's a good question.
So, like,
probably quite a lot.
Credit to any women who want to, you know, get their eyebrows done, for example.
Sure.
Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But there's also a question behind that to be like, why is it that you feel like you need to get your eyebrows done?
Yeah, right? I mean, because like I often think I should get my eyebrows done, and no one's ever said to me that my eyebrows are bad.
You're cracking eyebrows, but yet it's a worry that.
But it's just because not most people, but a lot of women I know do, or lots of women will like go get their nails done, or they will go get a wax or whatever.
Sure.
And like there are lots of things about my body or my body hair or whatever that I know I could get fixed if I decided to do them. And I think if I was in a chamber by myself, I don't think I would see them as problems. Like, I don't think I would go, oh, I don't like, you know, how my leg hair grows in so fast, or I don't like, you know, there's little bits of, you know, facial hair that I get sometimes. I don't think that those would bug me if I was by myself in a sort of chamber. But they do bug me just because I'm in a world where other people are bugged by them, and I've made it clear that that's not normal or good to have, and it's something that as a society we decide you get rid of. So because of those things, I do like shave my legs, I do shave under my arms, I do make sure I haven't got hair growing on my face, right?
Sure.
And like I do think about, what would be the best method to do permanent hair removal? Things like that. Or and there's like or things like going, you know, women by default apparently many women tend to get their brows done in some way. It's a common discussion is getting your brows done, and should I get them laminated, or do you want to...
Laminated? What's that?
I don't really quite know, Dan. But it's like things that I hear people talk about a lot, right?
Sorry, the only laminator I know is the paper one.
Yeah. Or it's like, you know, they'll just talk about, that people pluck them or wax around them, or they do something to fill them. And I'm kind of like, I've kind of, in the chamber, I've kind of always sat here with my brows just natural and being like, they're fine. They're okay. There's nothing wrong with them.
And yet you're the most attractive person that most people know.
You're really biased. You're really biased. But I think it's like, I don't think I would be upset by them if it was just me in a chamber. But then because other people do something about them, I do think, should I also partake in that?
Sure.
And like, I don't think I would wear makeup if I didn't live in a world that other women wear makeup. But because they do, I think, okay, I should do that as well. And I'm not like super down on lots of the makeup trends. No,
of course.
Like, you know, like right now I'm not wearing any foundation or anything on my actual face.
Sure.
It's just like some sun cream.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, which is a step. That's some improvement for me. I used to have to have, you know, my face done if it was going to be on camera or something.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think I probably wouldn't be like, oh, let's put some little, let's do the mascara. Let's do some mascara for this. And that would be, why would I, in a chamber by myself, think that I need to improve and change the way I look? But I think it's just because other people do it and it becomes the norm, and you see what people do and it's the norm.
Do you reckon it's a bit of FOMO? You're almost like, am I not doing it? I think everybody has it, but they're almost like, am I not fitting in for whatever reason?
Well,
honestly, I think everybody wants to belong. And they're struggling to find a way to belong, and it almost ends up being down to micro things like, well, if I don't do my eyebrows, am I not part of the group?
I think it's just people understanding what everyone else does to perform in the way that gets them to fit in. So I observe lots of things women do that are for their appearance, and then that makes me think I should do them as well. So those examples, things like, I guess a lot of women probably get into diet culture just because others around them, like their mums are into diet culture, or everybody at school is talking about, you know, gaining weight, losing weight, having a thigh gap, whatever the thing that's in the moment is, right?
Give really awful comments.
But like, it's not bodies. Even deliberate usually. I think it's just people do.
I think people notice the things in other people that they've been told was bad in them.
Yeah.
And they point it out, even though they shouldn't, but like because everybody's reeling from their own traumas.
So I guess we would think most mothers have a responsibility, and fathers actually, I think is very important, to be careful about how they talk about themselves, people around them, in front of their kids, because you don't want to enforce diet culture, you don't want to enforce negative self-image on your children.
Yeah.
So a mum who is always, you know, on a diet, complaining about how she's got fat, being really judgmental about herself, talking down about herself, she's not giving a good message to her children. And a man who is always making jokes about how, you know, his wife's got fat, or talking about women on TV, you know, like, you know, all that stuff. Men who are partaking in that and sexualizing everyone around them, that is very damaging for daughters as well, and for sons, right? So I think it has to be accepted on that level that you have responsibility to your children to not reinforce diet culture, etc. Right? But then do we have a sort of responsibility to the other people around us who aren't our children? So, you know, like for me, my mum was never on a diet, you know? She's very good about that. You know, like obviously no one's got perfect self-image, but I don't really have many memories, like cool memories of like my mum being down about herself. So for me, that was never really a big thing. But the world around me was infused with diet culture. And, you know, no matter what my parents did. You got it
from everywhere else anyway. Yeah.
Like my parents very rarely said anything to me that would make me question how I looked physically or think about it like that. But I lived in a world of other young people who were deeply insecure.
Yeah.
I was surrounded by students at my high school who all deeply insecure, judging each other, assessing each other, ranking each other, you know? Like pitting yourselves against all the other girls. And like I think it's really hard not to compare when you're in that sort of environment. And so it's just a difficult thing where, when people around me now are like, oh, I'm going to go on, I'm going to get one of these, you know, GLP-1 drugs, right? So like Ozempic, etc., right? Then you're like, well, should I do that? Now, obviously, I should not do that.
Sure.
Absolutely not. There is no need for me to do that. I would not be allowed to be prescribed one in the UK. I'd have to get it illegally.
Sure. At that point now, like, it's pretty clear you shouldn't.
And like, it would be bad for me. It would not be a good thing for me at all, personally, right?
So I actually remember having the same thoughts over Ozempic and whether I should take it. Obviously, it's a bit different because we have like different builds, but personally, I don't trust drugs. I don't trust drugs that, like, especially when they are making such life-altering changes like that. Haven't gone through a 10-year spectrum of understanding what it will do.
There are lots of reasons not to for anyone, but I guess also I would say, as my husband in my house, you kind of owe it to me to not invest in that sort of diet culture stuff, right?
Based on the things that have happened.
But then I guess the question is, does somebody who's like in my periphery, an acquaintance, still owe that to me?
Sure.
Like I'd say, well, what they owe to me is to not, like, if I say, please don't talk to me about your diet and your weight loss and stuff.
Yeah.
They don't owe it to me to, like, stop losing weight or to hide it from me. Sure. But I think they do owe listening to my boundary there. It's like there's some stuff on one side of the boundary, some stuff that's on my side of the boundary.
Well, you're not telling them to stop losing weight. You're just telling them, like, when in my presence, I would rather not have those conversations. Like, as in, it's even like, I wouldn't say that I can tell you to not lose weight, but I think it's a case of. But even I've even thought about this.
About healthy diet culture.
It's exactly that. It's like, if I was to lose weight, the way I'm going to go about it now can't be this toxic cycle of like, right, we're just going to drop everything sweet out of our lives. We're just going to like eat less than 3 meals a day. We're just going to go into real deficit.
We're going to go to crash diet.
Like, but the problem is that when you live together, that's going to impact.
Well, yeah, exactly.
The two of you, for
sure. It's like you have to sort of have that balance, and I think honestly, losing weight in a healthy way is never going to be worse than losing weight in an unhealthy way.
Yeah,
so
of course.
It's just
far more gradual.
You
can't see it every single day. And like, honestly, I think like the fun of it, that toxic cycle, I think only really works best for single people or couples who are like dedicated to doing that together.
But like, I think it's just such a tricky one where you have to, like, I don't think weight loss is ever a guaranteed positive, you know?
No, it's
like
true.
People will often be like, oh wow, you lost weight, well done, amazing. And it's like,
you're like, that's not what I want.
That's not good.
That might not be a good thing. For sure.
That's actually probably quite a bad thing.
Which is funny because everybody is assuming that it's constantly that's the case. And you're like, if you are in the gym culture, you even understand that some people have like tone seasons. Some people have bulk seasons. It's like, if you're healthy in that regard, you understand that there are ebbs and flows. But also,
like bodies just
body
fluctuate,
shape
and
that's
regularly. Normal. But I think it's just generally there's a boundary somewhere where I can't ask people to wear baggy clothes and hide their weight loss from me, even if I would get triggered by seeing them losing a lot of weight. Like that's not fair. I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I can say, I don't want to hear about your diet. I don't want to hear how you've done this, But I guess the thing is, it's kind of like, well, it's a difficult one because it's so much in our culture in ways where it's not even just like what you see your people around you do. It's like the media you consume.
Right.
Like, I had this thing I watched Bridget Jones when I was quite young, and in the first movie at the beginning, she weighs herself. She says she's very fat, she has to lose weight. The weight she was at, I thought that was a good goal weight number to be below that, because I was much heavier than that. But then, well, for me, that weight, because of how tall I am and everything and my build, when I was at that weight, I wasn't having a period. I was losing my hair. I was very underweight, actually, for my height when I was that size. So
that's really not a good.
It wasn't a good goal weight, but it's kind of like the things you see in media, whether it's that. Like, I have so many instances I remember from growing up, like seeing things on movies or TV shows. People talk about their weight and stuff that really affected me in quite a deep way.
No, of course. I mean, like I've always thought. I think humans are rather simple creatures in that we don't really do well at telling the difference between what's fake and what's reality. And I think moving pictures and films kind of brings that out to a larger degree, because obviously we make such realistic stories and scenarios, but these people aren't like real people living in our actual world and to deal with our actual problems. We're just kind of simulating it. But then we've got societal trends that have changed over the years of like what we consider to be fat, and like we're dealing with an entire fashion runway that no matter where you are in the world seems to deem that people need to be as tiny as possible,
yeah,
and now we're flexing in the world and going, well, it shouldn't be that.
Plus size isn't in anymore.
Exactly.
Which is ridiculous that a body can be a trend.
You just are like, how? Yeah, but even the
be?
fact that it should be a trend. But then, like, I know people have spoken about like Adele and there was another.
But is this thing a lot of? Suddenly, I mean, Selena Gomez. A lot of women have lost a lot of weight recently. Yeah. All the Kardashians have shrunk, right?
Okay.
Everyone's losing a lot of weight, and again, it's the micro macro thing, right? Like on a micro level, an individual woman choosing to lose some weight, that is her prerogative. It's so up to her. I can't possibly say, how dare you, Adele, lose weight?
Neither should
That's not fair. But on a macro level, the whole society around us, everybody's shrinking. That can be damaging, and that can really hurt people, and that can make you feel like you have to join in the trend.
I guess it makes you realize like we don't know who ever started the hamster wheel. A lot of the time, I think at some point we realised that people are now on this trend.
Centuries ago, probably. It's just been a constant flux.
But as in, like, whatever the current trend is, it's like at some point in time we realised that everybody's on it, and this is the journey which we're going on. But no one has questioned it because everybody's just trying to fit in now.
Yeah.
I think it's hardest with Ozempic because I think for a lot of people it's like this is the shortcut to the thing that they've always wanted.
Yeah.
I think it actually really pointed out because obviously we were going through that phase where I think people were starting to become really accepting of people's bodies, no matter what size they were. And then the moment this drug was available, I think it brought people back to a rather toxic point in their minds where they're almost kind of like, oh, wait, you mean I can go back to the thing that I always dreamed of, even though that's not the thing I should have always dreamed of.
Yeah.
Because it obviously takes, even if you accept better and positive messaging in your life today, it actually still takes a very long time before you like gutted out all of the old thoughts and patterns in which you would have strived for in your life. And so I think there's a lot of people who kind of just went, well, cool, I can get what I always wanted now.
Yeah, but I think it also affects men, right? As in, like, you know, we were talking about how things like, you know, in older movies,
yes,
like, you know,
we were.
So like, you know, the men in older movies who are the strong men, like, you know, Superman, they are, if you look at the ones from like the 70s and the 80s, they're still very strong men, but they are much more like a normal physique that you might see and achieve healthily. Whereas the men today who are the strong men in the movie, like, you know, you've got your Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, your Zac Efrons.
Zac Efron had a massive conversation about it, where obviously he's gone through so many body changes for various roles, and he was there like, I hate not eating bread. I hate that this is the life I have to live.
Well, yeah, but it's like things like not eating bread.
Stop doing it, but
but it's like, you know, things like having to not have water for a day before you can film, so that your muscles look really defined, or
like,
things
that's not realistic for anyone.
It's
everybody else is going, well, that's what I should do.
People see that and they conflate it with health. They go, well, I'm on my health journey, so I'm going to get really muscly, and I'm like, no, like, how can it be healthy to be taking these drugs to grow your muscles? And how can it be healthy to be restricting so much food and not drinking water and only eating certain food groups and like overdosing on protein to the extent that you'll give yourself kidney problems? Like, these things can't be healthy.
I mean, the fact that like guys like the Liver King are, you know, popular is because like there is. Yeah, so there's a guy who just like eats raw meat.
Well, that's bad for his liver. That is.
He's gone to. It might be the Liver King. I think it's the Liver King. But he's gone to hospital a few times.
Yeah.
And you're there like, because it's not actually good for you. But
He's
this
not
is like
cat.
that hyper macho thing that like he wants to pretend. He'll literally just like get raw meat, milk, pot donkey, and you're there like, this is awful. But
but people do that.
The reason that that's working is because there's an entire demand for it. Like, again, we forget that if we didn't have a demand for these toxic things, that would just go.
So I guess it's like, at the end of the day, Liver King himself, I've never heard of this man, but there we go, maybe I will now. But I guess it's not him that I would demonize and blame personally.
No.
Because he's also a product of the culture.
He is, yeah,
But the culture itself, the society that has made that a thing that people do, that's very problematic. It's terrible. A real issue.
I think a lot of guys don't think about the fact that, like, as much as they're in their gym culture and their gym trends and their gym diets, they're actually really victims of a diet system that really is just going to tear apart their self-esteem, tear apart their self-confidence. Like, and maybe it was that they were insecure before and that's how they ended up in it. But I think a lot of people go into these things with good intentions but don't realize the the harmful patterns that they've had instilled within their brain at some
Yeah.
point that's led them to this point. And then as they continue further down that journey, suddenly you're at a point where other people are going, what are you doing, bro? Like, this is a bit far. Like, I've seen guys talk about their, you know, their body. Like, I think a lot of guys have body dysmorphia. Obviously women do.
But yeah, a lot of people have body dysmorphia.
But like, I think a lot of men also have body dysmorphia. I remember seeing a guy who was like, oh, I was flexing in the gym mirrors, and like, I saw in the background of the mirror, I saw another guy flexing and wished I could have his body, only to realize I was looking at myself.
Wow.
And I was like, that's tragic.
But a lot of people seem to have that, don't they?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's like, I think body dysmorphia takes so many different forms.
Yeah.
A lot of people have it, men or women, whatever. And things like we talked about, like, you know, weight loss, the gym, surgeries, all of these things, like doing cosmetic procedures.
Yeah.
All these things are things that we do to try and reconcile the version that's we see with what we want to see, you know?
Or what we think that other people
I guess
accept.
This is the thing, isn't it? It's like it's what we want to see, but is it what we want to see because
we want it
individually want it, or is it because
society
we've been taught to want certain things all our lives?
Like, I remember seeing Simon Cowell, he got Botox. And he talked
famously.
about it, not famously.
We all know, very famously.
Oh, sorry, yes, it is kind of,
and his
famously.
teeth.
He's gone
his whole
to a great
face.
degree.
We all know Simon Cowell's face.
And I remember seeing an interview from him, and he was like, well, this is what just like was expected of you to do in Hollywood at that time. And like, if you didn't have it, you were seen as weird. And you're like, poor lad, he's now stuck in the system where he doesn't probably want to do it. Yeah. But he can't, you know, fathom being outside of the group.
Yeah.
Because he's not done this thing. And so therefore he goes and does it. And what happens if you're an insecure person who overthinks about how much you're in a group? How far does that then end up going? Where you do more and more thinking, and then you end up with these people who have clearly wildly or like off-world body proportions.
But
like, you know, when people get like massive Brazilian
on what you're
butts,
expecting,
and then you're like, that's not a butt, that's just artificial material.
It's difficult because it's like what's normal depends on where you're from and where you live. Like, so for me, like I was saying, it's literal. It's things like, oh, should I get my eyebrows done? Should I shave?
But for someone else, it's going to be, should I get fake boobs?
I don't live in LA.
Yeah, exactly.
And occasionally, I think, look, there's, I could, some days my boobs are too big. Sometimes they're too small. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, everyone has things where they'll be like, oh, I don't like that feature today for whatever reason. Sure. But then it's like, but at the same time,
I've had this with bloating actually, where you've had to remind me, like, hey, whenever you're feeling bloated, you actually don't look different.
Oh yeah.
And like, I've seen people do the videos where they're like, this is how different I look, and yes, it's fractionally, but like to everybody else, it's not enough. It's not enough to be like, oh, this person is entirely changed. We're
not so consumed with other people that we notice all these differences.
Exactly.
Usually. So it's usually with ourselves, we're so hyper aware.
Yeah.
But I guess the thing is, I don't live around lots of people who get their boobs done and get their teeth whitened and get extensions. I mean, I do say, like, there's lines, aren't there? I'm around more things like extensions and teeth whitening and lip fillers now than I used to be. So I guess those are things that I now, in my consciousness, as things that people like me get done.
Right.
Whereas some of the things, like a Brazilian, like butt lift, right? That whole thing, the BBL, I'm never going to get one of those.
That's not part of our culture.
That's
really
not
here.
part of my culture.
Yeah. But for somebody else, it will be. And like, you're dealing with an entire world spectrum of like various, you know, things that have stuck to their specific culture. And people don't really think about it to be like, in that sense, it's like, it can be as small as what happens in your city compared to what happens in another city. But anyway.
But it's so much about things like what is healthy is like, there are things that we do to look healthy that aren't healthy. Like, so a lot of Americans get their teeth whitened a lot more than we do here. Sure. And their teeth look healthier. They're really not, because like, you have to like scrape off the enamel, or you do that horrible thing that I can't even.
Do you know what our version of that is? People going to Turkey.
No, not the veneers. No, I literally bought the veneers.
It's horrible. But that's our version of that, where we go like, okay, so I need to have the perfect teeth. I'll go to Turkey then and risk the medical system there in order to have good teeth.
That is significantly less healthy to have fake teeth in than it is to have real teeth. However, it looks healthier. if you are looking just at how white they are.
Exactly.
But equally, like, you know, people now, they kind of sometimes look down on people who've got, you know, like turkey teeth and, you know, the hair transplant.
In some aspects, but I think
the lip fillers. It's like, because this is the thing. I think on an individual level, I don't want anyone to be shamed for what they've done to their teeth. I'm sorry for having such a reaction to the foot. It's a really sensory thing. I don't need to be shamed for any of the procedures that they've had done. I think that's so up to them, and like I don't have any grounds to say you should not get a Brazilian butt lift. You should not get extensions. You should not get a fake tan, whatever.
Got you.
Like, you know, it's
you're a person with your own.
I think this one stopped again.
I know. I was waiting until we had a.
Is that one still going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just wait until we had a mid-sentence.
Sorry.
It's fine. I'll try and get it back for 5 more minutes.
Yeah. But yes, sorry. We had a mini camera thing. But yeah, I'm not saying that somebody shouldn't get a Brazilian butt lift, or they shouldn't get, like, you know, their eyebrows done, they shouldn't get lip fillers, or they shouldn't get their teeth done in Turkey.
Sure.
But like, what I'm saying is, on a macro level, it concerns me that these things are becoming so much more prominent and so much more expected and normalized.
Sure.
And I think it's just as bad as, you know, if 30 years ago it was like, well, women have to wear high heels in the workplace, they have to wear makeup every day. And like, you know, nowadays we'd be like, you can't tell somebody they have to do those things. But subliminally, I think those are things like expectations, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Even more so, we now have other things like surgeries. Like, how can a surgery be an expectation? But for some people, it seems to be, you know?
Well, I think people don't realise that the goalpost is just going to constantly keep moving for what they can do to themselves. And partially, I wonder if it's a case of, like, unfortunately, there's a lot of rich people who don't have a lot to do, and it's constantly this, like, they're playing a game of status. And that the bars for what that status is need to constantly move so that people don't feel like they're bored. And, like, unfortunately, the rest of us kind of get the trickle-down effect of that, of now thinking we need to look like all these guys who are in the social club trying to look like they're the newest thing, like they're the biggest trend, like they're constantly pushing, like, you know, effectively it's capitalism for them, but they don't realize it's capitalism because, of course, everybody's just going, well, it's just how I look. And you're like, the whole point of this is you constantly keep having to go higher and above and more, and it never stops. And, like, so I think the only way we're ever really going to deal with the macro is, I think that when people need to be more vulnerable with each other, because I think if you're having a thought about something that you're comparing yourself to on someone else, the only way you can quell that thought is to have a vulnerable conversation with someone else. And it requires you to be the first one, because most of the time, someone else isn't going to start this conversation. Yeah. They're not going to start with the, hey, I'm having a really bad time. It's going to require you to be like, hey. And so it's like, you brought this up when you were, like, in uni, and you gave the example where you were, I think you were with your rest of your housemates.
I'm pretty sure I told this in the last podcast.
You might have, either way.
Sorry,
like, you were there like, oh, how was everyone doing? And everyone was like, oh, really good. And how are you? And you were like, absolutely terrible. And then they were like, yeah, actually, I'm not doing so good either.
Yeah. Because it's like, it's things like that where it's actually opening up the door. Yeah. So I had that. I was very homesick. I was very sad and scared and lonely. And I needed connection. So I was kind of a bit more open than I normally would have been with strangers. Like, when they were like, oh yeah, I'm loving it. And I was like, I'm not. I really need a friend. And I feel like I don't know anybody here because I met you all 2 days ago. And I feel like I haven't got any real friends yet, and I feel so empty inside. Please fill the void inside. And they were like, oh my gosh, same. And so it's like, like that level of genuine, like, kind of oversharing. It served me quite well. Like, there was a guy I was friends with at uni who I knew, and literally, like, we had a very casual surface level friendship. He lived in my flat. And then one day I told him I'd been crying every night, like, you know, I think he'd seen me crying, and he was like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm crying all the time. I'm crying constantly. I can't stop crying because I feel so empty inside since I moved and uni started, and I don't know when I'll feel better. And I'm thinking of dropping out. And he was like, okay, same. And then we had this chat, and it really helped both of us. And it's kind of like, we
did talk about this on the other one, actually, because I remember talking about me opening up to my friend. But Nonetheless,
I feel like maybe that was our proto podcast.
I
think that was our.
No, I don't think it was that. I think it doesn't really matter.
Maybe
but either
not.
way,
anyway,
I think I reckon we should probably wrap up because
we should. We're going to run out.
I think
of time.
vulnerable conversations are really going to be the only way in which any of us start to build tangible relationships with other people and understand where we fit in within our actual social frames within our own personal lives. Like, if you're thinking about changing something about yourself, tell people around you how you're feeling about yourself and what you're thinking of doing. And they'll probably give you a good idea of whether that's a good idea or not. Not because you should live by their approval, but naturally because what part of what you're doing is because you're worried about approval.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it is, even on a more like less direct way than that, it's kind of assessing how much other people's approval really does matter. And I think it's really easy to say it doesn't matter, but we live in a society, so it does matter. But I think it's kind of like thinking about the opinions of the people closest to you, and do they love you because of your body or because of all these physical things,
or because of who you actually are?
Anything, yeah. And it's kind of like, I guess, do stuff for the right reasons. Like, you are so welcome to make any change you want to make to your body, right? Yeah. You are allowed to do any of the things, and nobody should tell you that you can't or that you shouldn't be doing that. I think it's just, like, yeah, people love experimenting and doing things with themselves. Like, it could be really fun, like nails, hair, makeup. These things for me, they're all fun now. I loved experimenting with like different nail colors and like, doing my hair different ways. I don't think that is really just a patriarchy's got to me sort of situation. No. However, like, it's kind of just, it's assessing why you're doing it and whether you're doing it out of kind of a self-hatred. Because I think sometimes if it is that, then it probably isn't a good idea to.
I think there's some things that are really just trivial, like, as you say, hair, nails. Like, these are fun customization.
But the line's different for everyone. Like, you could you could be doing your hair and your nails and your makeup because you feel like the you that exists naturally isn't good enough.
Yeah.
And I think it's like you have to kind of think about all of those things and then kind of delve into the issue that's below that. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean not getting the procedure or doing the things. It's just like,
understanding why you're doing it, and like, can you be comfortable with the way you are at this current moment in time without it? If the answer is no, then it's probably very fair that you're doing it. But also, if it's a no because I'm not good enough because other people around me, you just have to be like really introspective.
But it's also like practicing.
You're doing it because of external pressure, or if it's or even internal pressure in that you don't feel good enough, or because you genuinely think you'd be more comfortable in your body.
Yeah, like, I think it's like you do things out of love for yourself rather than hate for yourself.
Exactly.
And it's also like the things to do to practice that and to sort of test it. I think try and be more comfortable in like one-on-one settings with a small close-knit group of friends, with your partner, with whatever, kind of just not having your makeup or your hair done or whatever, right? Yeah. Well, things like that. I think that's a good thing. If you're not there, try and get somewhere closer to that.
Yeah. Like, you'll probably get a surprise in that, like, people, again, as we said, people don't notice.
People don't treat you differently.
Micro things that we do, they're probably not going to bring it up. And like, it's probably even important to say, like, don't feel bad that they didn't bring it up, because it will probably highlight that the things you're worrying about, other people don't worry about to the same degree. Yeah, it's all of this is about getting outside of your head and really just us understanding what is healthy and how much are we just living in our own little world sometimes.
Or it's like, if you want to stop shaving your legs every day, right? Wear a little dress without shaving your legs one day, and don't wear it out. Just wear it in your house and see, a friend.
Yeah.
And
see someone close.
See if they go, oh my gosh, why are your legs so hairy? Because they probably won't.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't need to go to a wedding with your legs unshaved, right, at the start.
It's
just like,
you don't have to go to a big pressure scenario.
Or also just getting used to being around yourself when you're kind of in your default state with not having your hair and makeup done. Like, do your hair and makeup while you're naked in front of a mirror, right? So you kind of get used to just your body as you are. Get comfortable with it.
Probably a very important thing to do. Yeah, just learn to love the way that you are, despite any modifications to it.
But yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like these are all feminine-centric points. Have you got any things for people who don't do their hair and makeup?
I won't lie. I don't think they're massively much different. I think for guys, it would be a case of like, just be careful of like the material things in which you are adding into your life to feel like you are worth something. I think guys sometimes do watches, cars, various possessions in their house to kind of go like, look at my collection of this and whatever.
It's also like, I guess things like lifting, right? It's like you have to get in your head. If you don't lift for 2 weeks, right, and your muscle mass goes down a bit and your body fat percentage goes up a little bit, nobody in your life is going to love you less.
No one's going to know. Like, it's completely fine to have your own personal goals.
You can still do it and have the goal.
But, like, don't beat yourself up because you didn't meet the goal that you wanted to meet. Like, it's okay to just allow yourself a little bit of extra time to achieve your goals rather than constantly punishing yourself for not having met the bar. Like, it's just unfair on you. It's not unfair on anybody else around you because they have to deal with that version of you. So this is why I say just be vulnerable. Have vulnerable conversations. Talk to close friends about what you're thinking, about what you're going through, and just be the one to start it. And you're going to have to trust that the people in your life will be able to handle this conversation. If they don't, then you just know that they're not a safe person to talk to, which is sometimes a hard reality to deal with, but important to recognize, like, actually, maybe this isn't the person I should be talking to about this in my life. But you need to find the ones that are close to you that you can have these vulnerable conversations with, and they will return the favor. Because most people generally want someone to open up to, and they don't ever get a chance. But yeah.
Okay, we're going to have to go because we need to eat.
We do need to eat. But I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I'm aware it's a long one, but this is kind of probably the way this podcast is going to go, just longer conversations. But we want you to be part of the conversation too. So if you have any comments, any thoughts about it, whether commenting it on YouTube, whether social media, either one, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We've got a YouTube channel. We'll be on Spotify, hopefully Amazon Music. But yeah,
it's all news to me. No, I just sit here and chat.
No, listen. No. Well, it's fine. I handle all of
Dan will handle it.
Stuff.
Dan will make it work.
We want to hear your thoughts on all of this because really you are part of this conversation too, and that's what we want this to be about. But anyway, thank you for joining us today for the Camera and Country podcast.
Oh my gosh.
We hope you have an amazing week.
Yes.
And we'll see you very, very soon.
See you soon.
Bye. Bye. Sounds like I'm getting a phone call.
Bye.